Consolidated School District is called to order. This is our regular monthly board meeting being held on September 17th, 2019. We have a quorum except for the absence of Joe Hubenek, so we're fine. We will open the meeting with our traditional moment of silence for you to observe as you feel appropriate. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. I think we have a student's reports tonight.
We do have, Madam President, we have a report on the aquaponics lab.
So my name is Jacqueline and I'm a senior at Lamar Consolidated High School.
My name is Cody Kiner. I'm a senior from Lamar Consolidated High School.
And so basically just a little bit about myself. Aquaponics and aquatic science piqued my interest because I want to go into the marine biology field in college, and that's what I want to pursue.
My interest in aquaponics was I like marine life, and when I went to aquatic science, it sparked something in me.
And also just a little about the other people that are in this picture. The girl on the bottom left, her name is Brianna. She was a senior last year and she helped out a lot. And then the girl in the middle with the brown hair, her name is Caroline, and she was the Brazilian foreign exchange student that also graduated last year.
What is aquaponics? How it works is the fish in the tank, waste, goes through a filter system which goes into the plant beds, which then becomes nutrients for the plants, causing it which cleans the water, which goes back into the tank. What else is aquaponics? Is a full ecosystem that is sustainable and low environmental impact to the ecosystem.
So some things that we have learned so far is we've learned how to test water quality, those things being like ammonia testing, pH level testing, nitrates and nitrites, and why we do those tests is to make sure that the fish are living in the best water possible and that they live. And some other things, we have learned how to care for the fish. We have to measure the fish, we have to feed the fish and make sure that schedule stays on track with their growth tracks. And the types of fish we have in those tanks are tilapia and blue catfish. And last year we had a few just goldfish swimming in there too. We've also learned about system maintenance, so all the behind the scenes technical aspects. We learn about those things, the evaporative coolers, and just making sure the temperature stays at the right temperature so the plants don't wilt or freeze, and so the fish also survive. Some more things about what we've learned is we've learned the agricultural aspects of aquaponics. We've learned how to grow and harvest the crops, and we've also learned pest control because in the past we have had issues with caterpillars or ladybugs coming in and eating our different crops like our beetroots or our different types of lettuces. So we had to learn how to pest control with those and what to use.
What's next is we're planning on expanding our classes to astronomy, engineering, and the aquaponics classes, where engineering will go in the aquaponics lab and fix any problems that we have with our technology. We're planning on the crops that our students and teachers grow in the aquatics lab. We're planning to partnership with the Child Nutrition District and have it served through the cafeterias. other districts, such as salads and sauces.
Yeah, and also on this, we have been using our different like peppers and our different lettuces in things in our Mustang Cafe, so like the teachers get to try it out. Yeah, before we give it to all the kids.
And if they survive, the kids get to eat it, right?
Yeah. And then, so our final slide is just thank you for the support. We know that this is a large investment and we appreciate it. It's given us a valuable learning opportunity, especially for me wanting to go into marine biology. So what Mr. Squires is passing around is our different lettuce crops and our peppers that we've grown. The lettuce still has the roots on it so that it remains fresh for y'all to eat.
Thank you.
Yes, for sure.
Thank you.
That's cool.
Okay. Thank you guys.
Thank you.
We still haven't had a fish fry, have we?
We have not, but that's okay. It's coming.
He always teases about that. But I think the fish need to be.
We need to thank the staff as well as for their support of the kids and the programs, because we know that there's a lot of work that goes on behind the scenes. So Dr. Williams and the rest of the staff that's involved, we really appreciate the work.
How long has it been now over there? 3 years, 2 years?
This is year 4 if you include.
Okay, so it's been 3
Yeah,
full years
yeah.
since we're going into work.
But one of the brainchilds is speaking. So.
That's right. I remember the first product.
That's awesome.
Okay, my turn. Recognition and awards. As a board, we periodically like to make our own recognitions, and tonight we have one of those. So, Mr. Hunt, I believe you have something planned.
Thank you, Madam President. So I appreciate the opportunity so that we can highlight one of our students and some of the great works that our principals and our staff and our schools are doing. September is Childhood Cancer Awareness Month, and the board passed a resolution to that effect last month. We have one student from my neck of the woods in Fulshire. His name is Hunter Pollock, and he was diagnosed last year as a first grader at Huggins Elementary School with a rare form of lung cancer. Hunter immediately went into treatment, and his family and the community, parents, students formed an organization called Hunter's Heroes. The purpose was to gather around Hunter, bring awareness to what's going on, and to bring as many thoughts and prayers as possible to Hunter as he goes through his journey. Hunter is here with us today, and so we're very proud to honor him. But it also gives us an opportunity to highlight some of the work that our schools are doing. And so under Ms. Harvey and Ms. Cunningham's leadership at Huggins Elementary, the school has just wrapped their arms around Hunter and his family and done everything possible. And it's a real testament to what LCISD Be the One is all about. They did a green out day in May where I went. Every single kid in that school, every single teacher in that school was wearing green. One of the days in the spring where Hunter had a surgery scheduled, there was a gather at the flagpole where there was a moment of silence and there were prayers for Hunter and his recovery. But it really is truly just a testament to the community, and when one of our own is sick or is in need, we gather around. And so I thank all of the staff members and the administrators, the parents and family members for all that they're doing for Hunter and for all of our kids that are in need. So thank you.
Out in front, we'd like to.
You guys are right in the center.
And again, you're right, this is what being one is all about. We listen. I want to thank Mr. Hunt for bringing that to our attention. Thank you so much. And it's nice when we as a board can do something to show our appreciation to others.
Thank you.
All right, any introductions tonight?
Yes, ma'am, Madam President, we have one introduction.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Tonight, I'd like to introduce you to the new assistant principal at Terry High School, Melissa Hernandez. Melissa is a 2011 graduate of the University of Phoenix with a bachelor's degree in business. In 2018, she received her master's in administration and supervision from the University of Houston, Victoria. In addition to 6 years in the private sector, Melissa has 3 years of teaching experience here in the district. Congratulations.
All right, that time, audience to the patrons.
There are none, Madam President.
Good, thank you. So I guess we will move on to approval of the minutes. We do have 4 different ones. We have first the August 1st, 2019 special meeting. And I have a motion to approve those minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
A second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Let's go on to the August 13th, 2019 special meeting workshop.
I'll make the
You
motion.
make a motion? Second. All right. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? All right. Motion carries, okay. August 15th, 2019 special meeting. Do I hear a motion? A motion? You have a second?
Second.
She said, Joy did. She just did
Or
very
you call
quietly.
it either way.
Yeah, she said. Gotta call it out. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries. And then our August 15, 2019 regular board meeting. I hear a motion to approve those minutes.
I'll make the motion.
You make a motion? You have a second? All right, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. All right, board reports. I'll just start here. Ms. Williams, do you have anything to report tonight? No? No committees or anything?
No.
Okay. Mr. Hunt?
Will there be an update from Mr. McKeever or Mr. Rice, or would you?
Just go ahead and do your,
Okay.
what we did at our facilities. Okay.
I have an update on the Board Facilities Committee meeting, which was held today at 6 p.m. Culver Elementary and Roberts Middle School are both completed. Punch lists are 99% completed, and the closeout has started. The maintenance operations facility is almost finished, working on warranty work. The service center is almost finished. Closeout documents are under review. Tamaron Elementary, the beams are up. The slab is poured. South parking lot is complete, and it's on track. The facilities assessment and long-range plan, the campus site visits are nearly completed. There's still a few support sites that are left, and the review of the collected data began on September 12th as they met to start to figure out how to cull through all of the data. The turf projects at the high schools are completed. Foster High School athletic improvements, the lockers are completed. The baseball and softball fields will be completed in November of 2019. The multi-campus improvements at Williams, Campbell, Navarro, and Westendorf are completed. The freezer cooler replacement is completed, and final payment will be on the November board meeting's agenda. The Alternative Learning Center addition and renovations, and the Jane Long Historical Gym, we saw those at the last board meeting. The design development is in process, and they'll come back to us with that in November. Same for the design development. They're in the design development stage of the transportation fuel tank replacement. Child nutrition lines at Terry High School and George Junior High are completed. Randall High School and Wright Junior High School construction is in progress and the project's on schedule. Trailer Stadium press box, the construction documents are 50% completed. They should come to us in November with a recommendation on the contractor, and it should be completed by August of 2020. Lamar Consolidated High School and the junior high, the schematic design is in process. Terry High School and George Junior High, the schematic design is in process. And then we have a number of items on selecting architects for multiple projects that are on today's board agenda.
Any other reports?
Yeah, I sat in on my first technology committee meeting this evening at 5:30 here in the building. There's several different things. The first thing is from the 2017 bond, interactive flat panels. Foster High School, Terry High School, George Ranch High School received new flat panels this summer. Reading Junior High, Bowie Elementary, and Arredondo are scheduled to receive new ones this fall. An item for the purchase and installation of flat panels for Reading Junior High, Bowie, Arredondo, may be on the October board agenda. Promethean flat panels at Campbell Elementary School need to be taken down and remounted to accommodate remodeling work being done at that campus. The cabling work also needs to be done correctly to remediate deficiencies when those are taken down and bring the cabling up to standards. An item for the purchase of the hardware and labor for the cabling for these flat panels at Campbell Elementary is on today's agenda. The teacher web pages have all been moved to Canvas software system. The bullying managing app is currently in use by administrators in the district. The DAEP and the JJAEP. Forgot what those letters stand for, but it's an acronym for the special sites. It's currently being, the new forms are currently being used by the administrators in the district, if I understand that correctly. Okay. Network storage and servers. 168 virtual servers have been migrated with new hardware, and 132 virtual servers have been migrated from the Fulshire Data Center to speed up the response time of district servers. 36 virtual servers will be moved over the next 2 months, completing this phase of the project. Approximately 35 terabytes of staff and student data will also be moved. The expected completion project for this project is November the 1st. All district and campus core switches have been installed and configured. 10 gigalinks are now running to all elementary schools, middle schools, and the special location sites. 40 gigalinks are running to all the high schools and junior highs and to this building, Brazos Crossing. And there are 2 junior highs remaining. Expected completion date is October the 1st. Software program, antivirus software program called Endpoint has been deployed to 22,000 workstations and 71 servers in the district. The content filter for internet traffic has been deployed to approximately 6,000 users and has blocked approximately 66,000 websites. Full deployment and optimization are continuing. 11,000 devices are currently being monitored. The phone system, 44 phone router configurations have been built. The vendor is in the process of deploying the configuration and staging equipment to deliver to the campuses. The phone deployment has kicked off. 50 of 1,025 phones have successfully been deployed. Proofpoint email security. The district purchased Proofpoint in 2018 with a 1-year agreement. It's been very successful. A 3-year agreement locks in the current pricing for all 3 years, and that will be paid in 1-year increments. An item for the renewal is on tonight's agenda. Technology, back to school technology startup. The technology support service employs several strategies to deliver the most functional instructional environment on the first day of school. And the district current environment includes 50,000 instructional technology devices. Every summer, the tech department puts every classroom through a 12-point checklist. And during the week before the students return, the teachers give a technology checklist to work through and to identify the remaining problems. And over the first week of school, 31% of the issues were resolved on the same day, with 90% of them being resolved within 5 days. The Lightspeed is our internet service, is that correct? It also has a new filter, and it is fully operational district-wide. Of all the computers in the district, all the computers needing replaced that were identified in the spring have now been replaced. A second chance inventory was completed in early September, and administrative locations inventory was completed on September 12th, and replacement of identified machines will begin in late October.
Very good. Being the first meeting, you did excellent. Thank you. Do you have anything to say? Okay.
I was able to attend the afternoon convocation. I'm sure all of you were able to do that. Enjoyed that thoroughly. This past week, I went to the CPAC first meeting. They had a very large audience, and I just hope they can continue that. I want to thank Ms. Mathis for her presentation. Hearing it the second time, I began to understand a lot more, and I appreciated that. Then this morning, the LCISD, and I'm going to say it completely, it's called SHAC, but it's the School Health Council, Advisory Council, I'm sorry. And they came up with a recognition to the schools, elementary schools, junior high, high school, for using the wellness program to the max. And the schools that were awarded the first time SHAC award, wellness award, was Campbell, Velasquez, Williams, and Reading Junior High. So I want to just give a shout out to them. And something they brought up, and I think they're going to come and make a presentation. They are concerned about the health, not having a health course in the schools for credit. We used to do that years and years ago. We had a 6 weeks health course. And they are really considering asking us to look into it, maybe bringing it back. They talked a lot about the vaping concerns that they were having. So I think our next meeting, they're going to do a presentation to us.
Is that it?
That's it.
Okay, thank you. Yes, I did want to also give a shout out. Convocation, I came all day, and I think Mr. Welch did too. And each one was a little different, not the presentation, but the dynamics of the people in the audience.
And I was real excited to see Dr. Randall dance 4 different times.
Got more excited each time. But I want to thank Dr. Randall and of course Mike Rockwood and Jamie Vincent, that to put that on takes a lot of work, and of course the students from Foster High School and the drama department. But Dr. Randall, after it was over, I heard a young lady come up to you and say, there's many reasons I stay in LCISD, but this is one of them, that they so enjoy coming to our convocations and getting the year kicked off with so much spirit, and it's just a testimony to. And of course, all your musicians out there that, they're not even.
Oh, yes. Magic.
They're trying to forget it.
They're trying to forget it.
Start a new band.
And then, of course, the next night was our new teacher dinner that was very well received, and so many people there. And a big shout out and thank you to Leaf and Janice Knight and her board to have that dinner and to get to meet all the new teachers. And I think they were all having a very good time before it was all over. We then did have summer school graduation the next week, and I told the board members that came that you're going to see very excited parents, and we always do, because I think we had 33 that graduated over the summer, and those parents are ecstatic, and it's always a joy to know that they finally can continue their journey with education. And I was invited along with Dr. Randall to the legislative dinner sponsored by the Fort Bend Chamber of Commerce last week, and it was very eye-opening and interesting to listen to our senator and representatives from our 86th Legislative Congress this past summer, and learned a lot and listened a lot, and continue to love what our district does, because it just shows how much we are already there in so many ways of what we need to be doing for our young people of LCISD. So that's all I have.
Okay. Well, Madam Chairman, I want to thank our staff and especially our teachers for all of the hard work that they did to get us off to a really, really good start. Overall, throughout the entire system, the way that they have worked with kids, they picked up right where they left off this past year. So I want to publicly thank them for all their hard work. I also want to thank Nikki and athletic staff, because Game 1 and Game 2, no one realizes how much work they had to do to transport all of that over to the Katy system, and then come all the way back here for Game 3, and then to manage a sellout crowd this past Friday. So I want to thank them as well.
It's been an exciting first 3 weeks of
It has
school,
been.
hasn't it? All right. At this time, we're at that part of our board meeting where we do form a consent agenda. Now, we did not have a board workshop this month because we're going to convention, but if there is a question over any action item, just say you want to pull it and we'll pull, and then we'll discuss and then take action. That's all right with everyone. Okay, now I've got to go slow enough so I don't miss anybody.
Madam President, can I ask a question?
Yes.
Since we didn't have the workshop, this is my first time being on the board without a workshop. Dr. Randall called us, and I discussed a lot of this with him on the phone, so I'm not sure how much
Well,
might
it's
be
just,
interested.
if somebody has another question, or if you have something else you'd like to bring forth with something you would like to pull. Did that answer you? No.
Well, I was
Maybe he wants
going to
to
say that the
clarify.
Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
other people reading the agenda and following along might not have the opportunity to hear questions asked about certain things. So that's what I was, is there any precedent for re-airing the same questions that Dr. Randall and I talked about, or?
Only if you want to, we have to remind ourselves that the board meeting is a meeting in public. It's not a public meeting, it's the discussions among the board and then deliberation. And so that if there are some additional comments you want to make about or questions about any of the agenda items, you certainly can pull them and then have them at that time.
All right. Okay. Okay, so we're going to start with A, goal instruction, A1, A2.
I'd like to pull that, please.
Okay. A3, A4, A5.
I would remind the board that you received an addendum, and it is an updated recommendation to the agency because we were able to pull some of those that required a waiver.
So we have less now on.
We have less on this than what we had before.
Okay.
I think I'd like to pull that.
Okay. And then A6,
I'd like to pull that.
and going over to B, goal B1, B2, B3,
Madam President, that's that requires action, I believe.
oh, I'm sorry, you're right. I meant to circle that earlier, thank you. And then B4, we'll come back and read those, but we can put them on the consent agenda. B5, B6, B7, B8, B9.
You also have an addendum with B9. There was a change in the number that was in the recommendation.
Yes, it went up a little bit. B10, B11, B12, B13, B14, B15, B16, B17, and we need to pull B18 because that's a discussion. Goal C1, C2, and D1. You want to pull C1? Okay. So let me go over that again so we know we're good. So we have put on the consent agenda A1, 3, and 4, B1 and 2, and 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, C2, and D1. Is that correct?
That's correct.
All right. May I hear a motion to accept the consent agenda? You make the motion? You second?
Sure.
All right, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, the motion carries. Before we start looking at the agenda items, can we go back and go ahead and read, because we have 7 resolutions for the month of October, and we're just, as a board, we're just going to each take one, if that's all right. It's really good to start on page 60.
Whereas National Character Counts Week is celebrated across the U.S. on October 20th through 26th, 2019, and whereas the well-being of the community, the state, and the nation requires that our young people become involved, caring citizens with good character, and whereas the public good is advanced when young people are taught the importance of good character and the positive effects that good character can have in personal relationships, in school, and in the workplace. And whereas Lamar CISD recognizes the need and has taken steps to integrate the values of trustworthiness, respect, responsibility, fairness, caring, and citizenship into teaching activities. Therefore, be it resolved that the trustees of the Lamar Consolidated Independent School District declare October 20th through 26th, 2019 as Character Counts Week in the Lamar Consolidated Independent School District. Can I read the next line as well? Adopted this 17th day of September 2019 by the Board of Trustees.
Thank you. All right. The next one, please.
Whereas National Custodial Worker Recognition Day is celebrated throughout the United States on October 2nd, 2019, and whereas the state recognizes the importance of a clean, well-kept learning environment, and whereas custodial staff members are valuable members of the educational team on our campuses, and whereas the assistance of custodial staff members is particularly important in the daily activities and operations of a school district, and whereas they serve our educational community by providing their talent and efforts in supporting students and staff, therefore be it resolved that the trustees of the Lamar Consolidated Independent School District declare September 30th through October 4th, 2019 as Custodial Worker Recognition Week in the Lamar Consolidated Independent School District, adopted this 17th day of September 2019 by the Board of Trustees.
Whereas the Human Resources Department is instrumental in recruiting, selecting, resourcing, and retaining quality staff in support of providing an excellent education for all students, and whereas Human Resources plays a key role in fostering satisfaction and loyalty among employees by allowing for professional growth and development, and whereas Human Resources monitors and manages current and future workforce trends, organizational culture, legal and legislative trends, and ethical and social responsibility, and whereas Human Resources is an important part of district leadership and is vital to the overall productivity and efficiency of the district's workforce, and whereas it is a valued and respected department that sustains the district's most important asset, its people. Therefore, be it resolved that the trustees of the Lamar Consolidated Independent School District declare October 9th, 2019 as Human Resources Day in the Lamar Consolidated Independent School District, adopted this 17th day of September 2019 by the Board of Trustees.
We have the resolution. Whereas the abuse of drugs, tobacco, and alcohol has reached epidemic stages in our nation, and whereas visible, unified efforts at a prevention education are the best ways to reduce demand for illegal drugs, and whereas October 23rd through the 31st, 2019 has been declared nationwide as Red Ribbon Week, and whereas our community will join with others throughout the nation to demonstrate its commitment to a healthy, drug-free lifestyle by wearing and displaying red ribbons and participating in drug-free awareness activities during this week-long observance. And whereas the Lamar Consolidated Independent School District is committed to a drug-free community and has committed its efforts and resources to drug abuse prevention education. Therefore, the Board of Trustees, Lamar Consolidated Independent School District declares October 23rd through the 31st, 2019 as Red Ribbon Week in the Lamar Consolidated Independent School District and encourages the district's staff, students, parents, businesses, and community members to support and participate in drug prevention activities.
Resolution. Whereas Texas Safe Schools Week is held in conjunction with America's Safe Schools Week on October 21st through the 27th, 2019. And whereas schools make substantial contributions to the future of America and to the development of our nation's young people as knowledgeable, responsible, and productive citizens. And whereas excellence in education is dependent on safe, secure, and peaceful school settings. And whereas it is the responsibility of all citizens to enhance the learning experiences of young people by helping to ensure fair and effective discipline, promote good citizenship, and generally make schools safe and secure. And whereas all leaders, especially those in education, law enforcement, government, and business, should eagerly collaborate with each other to focus public attention on school safety and identify, develop, and promote innovative answers to these critical issues. And whereas the observance of Safe Schools Week will substantially promote efforts to provide Lamar CISD schools with positive and safe learning climates. Therefore, be it resolved that the trustees of the Lamar Consolidated Independent School District declare October 21st through 27th, 2019 as Safe Schools Week in the Lamar Consolidated Independent School District.
Resolution, whereas School Bus Safety Week is celebrated throughout the United States during the week of October 21st to the 25th, 2019, and whereas School Bus Safety Week recognizes the importance of transporting students safely to and from school and school activities, and whereas transportation staff members are valuable members of the education team, and whereas the expert assistance of transportation staff members is especially important in the activities and operations of a school district, And whereas those staff members are diligent in safely transporting our students and staff, therefore, be it resolved that the trustees of Lamar Consolidated Independent School District declare October 21st to the 25th, 2019 as School Bus Safety Week in the Lamar Consolidated Independent School District, adopted the 17th day of September 2019 by the Board of Trustees.
Whereas School Lunch Week is celebrated throughout the United States during the week of October 14th through 18th, 2019, and whereas the National School Lunch Program has served our nation admirably for more than 60 years throughout advanced practices in nutrition education, and whereas School Lunch Week recognizes the importance of a nutritious school lunch program, and whereas child nutrition staff members are a valuable part of our school's educational teams, and whereas the assistance of child nutrition staff members is vital in the daily activities and operations of a school district, and whereas they serve our educational community by providing nourishment for students and staff, therefore be it resolved that the trustees of the Lamar Consolidated Independent School District declare October 14th through 18th, 2019 as School Lunch Week in the Lamar Consolidated Independent School District, adopted this 17th day of September 2019 by the Board of Trustees.
Thank you, everyone. You can see October's going to be a very busy month for everyone.
Yes.
We're just applauding everyone, which is good. Everyone needs a little applause. All right, let's go back to our action items. We're going to first go to A2. Can I hear a motion to consider approval of affiliation agreement with Memorial Hermann Katie Hospital? Make the motion. Do I hear a second? Second. All right, then we can start discussion or questions.
So, Madam President, my only reason for pulling it was just on page 30, it has, hospital will permit students of school to study the health career field specified in Exhibit A. But then Exhibit A doesn't say what the fields are. And so I just wanted to see if there was a reason for that.
I think we're going to get that.
Okay.
The fields of study, they'll be determined actually at their orientation, which is set to take place the first week of the month, the first week of October. It can be radiology, cardiology, the emergency room, or things that are approved by the hospital. So those have not been established yet.
Okay. Thank you. So then it might be easiest to just move that we adopt it and just give discretion to the district to complete Exhibit A at their, as they figure out what those fields are. I just didn't want to, yeah, just at the district's discretion. I just didn't want to approve the agreement with it as is, where it doesn't have them in there, and then you'd have to come back to the board potentially to get Exhibit A revised.
Okay, so do we need to?
So Trustee Hunt can make a motion to amend the original motion to add that the board grant discretion to the superintendent to finalize the agreement to include the missing exhibit.
Okay. So I make a motion to amend the original motion to give Dr. Randall discretion to revise Exhibit A as the district sees fit.
Do I hear a second for that? A second. Can we vote on the
amendment first.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Oh.
Thank you.
All right, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, the amended motion
So
passed.
now you would.
Now we need to go back and vote on the original.
Amended motion.
On the amended motion.
Correct.
All right. So now we're going to approve the renewal of the affiliation agreement with Memorial with the amendment. All right. Do we have to have a, that's already been, okay, so may I have, all in favor say aye?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay. So So we did all the stair steps. Good, thank you. You got to keep it in order. All right, so now we move on to 5A, the consider approval to submit a state waiver to the Texas Education Agency. That was the amendment, you had amended that list.
Correct.
So do I hear a motion that we authorize the superintendent to submit a class size waiver to the Texas Education Agency? You make a motion. We have a second. We have a second. All right, discussion. Ms. Kaminsky, yes, go ahead.
I just noted on the added addendum that Taylor Ray was eliminated.
Yes, ma'am. He had staff to adjust within the campus to address that class. It was kinder, correct? Yeah, to address kinder.
So that's what the amendment was
Mhm.
covering? Just
Mhm.
that one or
Both
another one?
Hutchison and Ray were able to make adjustments internally to correct those, so a waiver was not needed.
For the
Hutchison was first and second grade, and Ray was kinder.
Okay. And I remember whenever we asked for these waivers, I always questioned as to why the principals do not, that they have the option to hire another person or to add the children to the classroom.
They do. At this point in the year, what's happened is our projections, as you know, at the elementary, if they're one or two student off, it warrants an additional unit. And at this time of the year, the principals prefer to serve the students in their class, and especially at the lower grades, not split the classes for a child. And teacher hiring at this time of year, the teacher shortage, we are feeling it, and they've got some student teachers in place that they're watching to see how they do and see if maybe at the semester we could look at splitting classes.
Okay. Do we ever get a report later on to see how it's been decreased? I don't remember getting, like now, we're given a waiver to have larger classes. Do we ever get a report later as to how have we come along, that we've hired more teachers, or?
No, ma'am, we have
We
not
haven't
provided
done
an
that.
update to you on that. We have not. We can,
I'm
but
not
we have
going to
not.
ask for it because
Okay.
I do know.
Okay.
Just make it clear. I just wanted to clarify Taylor Ray and Hutchison. All right, thank you.
Thank you. All right, so any other questions or comments about this waiver? All right, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, the motion passes. All right, now we have A6, to consider approval to solicit pre-kindergarten partnerships. And I need a motion that we will approve the solicitation of pre-kindergarten partnerships to assist with the implementation of full-day pre-K required by House Bill 3 legislation. Can I have a motion for this?
I'll make the motion.
You make the motion. Do I hear a second? I'll second. You'll second? All right, now we can have discussion. All right, you want to?
No, go ahead.
Did you have any?
I have nothing on this right now.
Does anybody?
I thought you did.
I do. I
okay.
just wanted to
She
make
wants,
sure.
before she gets started, because she's got kind of a.
Yeah, I've already had a few questions.
You might inspire some, but.
Yeah, we roll off of that.
Now, I'm going to go on the wording of everything because I'm trying to understand. I understand that we can apply for a waiver, but we're on a time limit or time schedule that we have to turn this in, correct?
No, we currently do not have the ability to apply for the waiver until TEA provides us that opportunity in January of 2020.
It's January 2020.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm asking that deliberately, that we can buy a little bit of time. It says the Board of Trustees approved the solicitation of pre-kindergarten partnerships to assist with the implementation of the full daycare, pre-K, full day pre-K as required by HB3. Did y'all have a committee together to decide what all was going to be necessary when you send out the formal proposals?
We've not done that yet. Right now, we have to get a permission to solicit a call for proposals. We're currently working on that proposal, and it will be ready to be provided on October 7th, which is documented in the meeting at that point. That we're currently working with the business office on that for an RFP process.
The law is very specific. You can't do anything without the board saying you can move ahead with this. And most of the requirements are in law. So there isn't a whole lot of flexibility that's going to be done through this process.
I'm understanding that, and I'm trying to get everything in order.
Do you want to explain the process from the
If you're,
beginning?
well, but they're saying that we're going to have there'll be a meeting, a 1-hour meeting to explain everything. And then in a matter of 2 weeks, that y'all are going to ask for proposals. And I just wanted to know, do you have your proposal already ready to go?
We are getting the final touches on that, currently working with the business office to finalize that. We should have that by the 1st of October.
Okay.
It will be prepared for October 7th, where we have the community meeting for partners to provide that information at that point. I believe it's 3 weeks, which is common practice in regard to a turnover for that process.
Let me make sure that there's clarification on the proposal. The staff will not do a proposal coming from providers. They are the ones that will be creating a proposal in order to serve as a provider. Am I correct on that?
We're providing the information for them to create a proposal on do they meet the qualifications that are outlined for high-quality pre-K. Yes.
That's what I was getting at, is the qualifications are pretty high.
Yes, ma'am.
So when you go to, and I say we, when you go to that meeting with your qualifications, what you qualify, then you get the proposals. Are you going to take that time to pick one proposal, or have y'all discussed, is this a community type program that we're talking about, or just an individual program?
I guess I need clarification on what your specific question
Maybe I
is.
need to just have a meeting probably,
Are you trying to say, if, let's say, 5 different proposals came in, would you pick, if 3 of them qualified, would all 3?
It is possible, yes, absolutely.
So you'd be looking at location?
Yes, ma'am.
Of the entire district?
Yes, ma'am.
So it would not?
So
It's like the
qualification.
after-school programs? Okay.
Well,
Where it's all situated in different areas to take care of the children in all the district?
Correct. We are needing to seek who qualifies to be able to be a provider according to the state standards.
Okay.
And it will not, so those that qualify, as far as in the proposal, we will begin considering that. And in the plan that we have, that we delivered to the board at the last meeting, we would provide an update on that proposal review at the November meeting.
At the November meeting, which would be after you choose the,
We're going to provide an update on how many proposals that we have. When we look back at the rollout plan that we identified for the board, we said that we'd provide a board informational item to update on the Early Learning Center proposals, and we will be prepared to do so, to provide you information on who and how many have come forward, what their qualifications are, to update you on the process. Our goal is to be able to determine those learning centers that we can partner with by December and/or January, to come for an MOU at that point for partnering. Does that clarify it?
so there's no final decision. I think when I was reading it, that there would be a final decision on October the 25th.
No, ma'am.
It won't be. It's
No.
just strictly to see what input you get from them.
Yes.
Am I understanding that correctly?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Okay, I think that would be it. I have a lot of questions, I guess, about y'all's proposal. Would it maybe be better for me to have a meeting with them rather than asking it here?
Well, you can, but remember, it's not, the district isn't proposing. The district already has the early childhood, the pre-K programs in place.
Right.
So if the district is not, what the district is doing now is scanning the community to determine who meets the qualifications
Okay.
to be able to serve. And as far as we're concerned, if 10 meet the qualification, then those are 10 times however many kids they serve that the district won't have to worry about providing those services for.
I think I got caught up in the logistics of it, so I'm getting ahead of myself, basically, then.
So basically, all this is doing is saying, you cannot move forward without us approving
That's correct.
this tonight.
According to
Then you
TEA.
can't do the October 7th meeting or anything else until we approve that you can go out and solicit for these
That's
people.
correct.
Yes, ma'am, correct.
So we're the first cog in this little.
According to TEA, yes.
That's the first step.
Yes.
And nothing is final until.
Okay.
No.
State mandate.
Thank you so much.
All right,
Did you-
thank you.
Did you have a question?
Dr. Mossad,
Yes,
I do
sir.
have a question. So if there are entities that do qualify, you receive those and you come to us in November, would that be, and you talked about an MOU possibly December, January, would that be for the full day? They would be providing potentially, if that's your proposal, in January? They would be
Our
providing?
goal would be that. That was
Okay.
what we rolled out as far as our proposal at the last meeting, was that in a perfect, our goal is that we develop those MOUs and/or their partners so that we could move forward with potential highly qualified learning centers to provide full-day pre-K for the entire district, yes.
For starting in January?
Our goal, according to what I stated or just according to what we rolled out, was that our goal would be December and/or January to provide you guys an MOU with qualified learning centers that we would be partnering with. Now, obviously, as we have talked about with HB3, particularly with pre-K and this implementation, sometimes we're receiving additional information. This is all new for us in the process as well. But our goal is that we can move into second semester with having those partnerships in place to begin to provide some spots for those kids that need to participate in full day that are not able to at this time.
I know that this year, we're not able to provide the full-day pre-K to all the students that potentially qualify, but is the district's goal to eventually, once we receive this waiver from TEA, to eventually have all of those qualifying full-day pre-K students be in-house, or is that something you're not able to determine yet until you get these applications from community partners?
Well, I think we're wanting to do what's best to serve our kids. And so from what we can see in regard to quality pre-K, we do feel that we do want to serve our kids at that home campus, because then they start solidifying relationships with staff starting at 4 years old, going all the way up through 5th grade. And that is an important process as far as family engagement, as in learning. So yes, in a best practice, we would be serving them, and it is our intention to do that across the district. But we do realize there could be some constraints that we're not aware of right now. So we want to ensure that we are covering all of our bases so that we can serve our community to the highest capacity possible.
But the goal is full implementation.
Yes.
District-wide in the fall of 2021. And we couldn't do it this year because we had 18 additional teaching staffs right at the last minute that we would have to, as well as modifying some spaces in order to accommodate. We're taking a year in preparation for that. But the law allows us to partner with different groups in the community that also can, if they meet the criteria of the law, they can also serve those kids. So it's kind of a blending thing. It's not as we take them all. It could be very well be that we serve the ones that we're able to serve, and then they may be serving some additional ones in the community at their location.
And if I'm understanding, this has been in the making for about 3 years, but the problem is the financial part of it also, the space, not having enough room for all of the students, and how can you partner with the community? And it is feasible, I will tell you that. It's going to be long, but it's going to probably eventually get more children involved.
So if my question is, okay, if we're hoping to have full-day pre-K offered in our district by the 2021 school year, would that mean, do the people that are putting in these proposals, do they know this might only be for a semester? Or is this something that could be if a child came along and wanted to go to one of their schools and not one of ours? I mean, how long-term does this last?
I don't think we can answer that fully for today. I
Okay.
can tell you that we want to be very transparent within those proposals to ensure as much as what we know in this soliciting the proposals from our community.
So this is, right now, we're just worrying about the second semester of this year.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay,
For right now.
for right
For right now, but again, there's a whole lot of moving parts to this, and we are open to a number of ways.
Okay. Any other questions, comments? Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, I think we can go ahead and vote. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, the motion carries. All right. Now,
You may want to, even though 52 full, that was a certificate for,
Okay.
will get recognized then.
okay, now which number?
On page 52.
Oh, okay.
It's B3. I mean,
Oh, 52?
right.
Okay. On B3, page
B2.
52, right?
10B3.
B2 is the certificate of.
Oh, yeah. I'm sorry. Okay, on B2, I do want to, this is always exciting, that the District Certificate of Excellence in Financial Reporting Award for its comprehensive annual financial report for the fiscal year ending August 31st, 2018, and we thank Ms. Ludwig and all her staff for all they do. We don't look good if you don't look good. And we appreciate it. I know it's hard work and you do it diligently and we appreciate it. And thank you, Dr. Randall, for reminding me. I had that on my list and I got to look back over it. All right, now, I didn't want to skip, let's see.
And B3.
B3. We can, at this time, nominate someone for the Fort Bend Central Appraisal District, or we can wait when they will send us some nominations and put our votes towards it at that time, if I'm understanding. I remember another board member, I don't know if she's still on that board, but we can take action or we can just not take any action at this time and wait to see who has been nominated, and then we can vote at that time.
Because normally our vote will mean more if our votes kind of partner up with another entity.
Right, exactly. You probably know a little bit more about that than I do. Okay, so is that what is that a consensus at this time? Okay.
What's the consensus?
Normally if, like we get so many votes, normally if we kind of wait till the other entities vote, then we can see who we want to put our votes with, and it kind of makes a better impact.
Because we get 575 votes.
Or we could nominate someone.
That's correct.
Yes,
Okay.
or we can, if there's someone on here that, if there's someone we want to nominate.
All the different entities listed could potentially nominate someone.
Correct.
And then, when does
Usually-
that vote take place?
I'm
might have
not
read it
sure
in
what the
In
date.
December,
October,
Just have to be before the 14th.
the nominations is before the 14th. and then
before
it's,
October 14th, yeah.
That's the nominations, but isn't it December, Jill, or something like that?
I actually think it's in November,
November,
but I'm not positive on
of what date, but
Usually, it seems like all these people kind of nominate someone, and then we have some names, then kind of know what we can, if there's someone that stands out to us, and we can kind of throw our,
Do you have to get a majority? Is
a
there like
majority, I can't really remember how it works
Well,
exactly.
usually as our board does do a majority, but
your vote
Our vote
as a board
We
will
put our
be
votes
for-
as a
If
board.
there's 20 candidates, it's going to be hard for one person to get.
If I remember
Right,
correctly.
but you'll be
and-
able to see who has the most voting power,
Right.
kind of, you know?
I think it's more of a plurality, if I remember correctly,
Yes.
the ones who get the
is.
the most votes, if I remember correctly.
Well, if he's willing to accept, I'd move to nominate Mr. Welch.
Now, the sitting board member.
Yeah, I don't think we
Oh,
can
sitting
have,
board
You
member
I don't think we-
cannot.
do it. Oh, really?
yeah, I don't think
Yes, you
we
could.
can have it. We have to nominate a outside person.
Yeah.
Oh,
See, when we had another board member go off the board, she came back
Right.
and
and
asked.
she has to resign from there.
No, she
No.
had just.
No. She was off the board and she decided she wanted to be on it.
Uh-huh.
And so she kind of
Okay.
rallied her votes from other areas and us, I think, is kind of how it worked. Or, I mean, I wasn't on the board then, but like
We
pretty
can-
soon we'll start hearing
I thought,
who's kind of on it, who's interested.
I thought maybe it was at the SLI conference in San Antonio that this question came up, and I thought a current board member could be, maybe I'm getting that wrong. No?
Not on
Well,
this. This is-
not that I'm aware of.
Unless it's changed.
Okay.
Let's put it like this.
But we don't have to do it now anyway. We don't have to do it now anyway.
do you
We have
know-
time.
Right, so I would have to definitively answer the issue, research it to determine it, but typically there is a concept called dual office holding, and generally it means that you can't hold two offices simultaneously.
Two taxing
where there may be
entities.
competing
Oh, that
Yeah,
makes
it's
sense.
two
interests between
taxing
those
entities,
So
yeah.
somebody that sits on both the taxing authority board and then serves on the district, there could be situations where there could be incompatibility of serving in those two roles, and that's why there's a general prohibition. So my gut sense is, although I've not looked at it specific for this situation, that there probably is a prohibition from an active trustee serving. If the board chooses not to take, any action at this time, you might have time in October, I'm not certain of that, and it could be researched, and then you can get a
If there's
definitive
someone that you would
answer.
like to put in a
We
name.
haven't heard any names at all. That's what's.
So we could
What?
just wait.
Yes.
What date is the 14th on? Someone look it up for me, please.
That's right
It's,
where it is
that's on a
relative to the
Monday.
board meeting.
That's Columbus Day.
And-
And we meet the next day, I believe.
So we should have time.
We would have to call a special board meeting.
You won't have time.
And you
I
would-
think that's something
Oh, we will not
that, is
have
this
to.
every year?
No.
I
No,
think it's every,
No,
Every
Oh,
odd,
no.
every other
Every,
year?
every odd year, in
Okay.
2 years.
Okay, here's the,
So I don't want to convolute things, but the chief appraiser, I asked him this afternoon what the requirements were. And he said to be eligible to serve on the board of directors, an individual must be a resident of the CAD and must have resided in the CAD for at least 2 years immediately preceding the date of taking office. An employee of a taxing unit that participates in the CAD is not eligible to serve on the board of directors unless that individual is also a member of the governing body of the taxing unit or an elected official of a taxing unit. So that kind of indicates that they could be.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I'll have to research it today.
But
What? No, read that again.
Can be.
an employee of a taxing unit that participates in the CAD is not eligible to serve on the board of directors unless that individual also is a member of the governing body of the taxing unit or an elected official of a taxing unit.
But you're not.
So that would
Employee,
be,
though.
we're a taxing unit.
It could be.
And so it sounds like it could be.
But he's not an
But again,
employee.
this is the chief appraiser's verbiage, I'm not reading from law or anything.
Was it Rhonda, the one that was?
Rhonda was.
But
Yeah.
they never were on the board at the time that they served. They served after they got off the board.
So he goes on to say, membership on the governing body of a taxing unit does not make an otherwise eligible individual ineligible to serve on the board of directors. So that states exactly what we're talking about. Membership on the governing body of a taxing unit does not make an otherwise eligible individual ineligible to serve on the board of directors.
So assuming that's accurate, and there may be a statutory exception to the doctrine that I was sharing with you that allows that to happen, but you're in a little bit of a difficult position here because we don't have the time in this
Yeah.
meeting to confirm the accuracy of those qualifications.
But the problem is with only
But-
five.
but
I have a question. If we submit a name and then we find out that they're ineligible. I
We
mean,
don't have
we've
time
got
to
a name.
change it.
Could we withdraw the name
But you don't have to vote
before
for
the
them, right?
14th?
Well,
You can just
if
submit a name.
If you submit the name and they are not eligible, then I presume that they
CAD
were
would.
rejected as a nominee.
Right, then the
Okay.
CAD just doesn't put them on the ballot.
So, it seems to me, and that's a good question, the board could go forward with a nomination at this time, and then we can look at the issue more closely, and if we determine that they are not eligible, then we can deal with it once we've made that determination.
So there's one other thing here. Oh, probably doesn't apply, but I should read it anyway. Owing delinquent property taxes disqualifies a person from serving on the CAD Board of Directors. The person is, I'm not, I'm just saying, I have to read the person is ineligible if he or she owns property on which delinquent property taxes have been owed for more than 60 days after the date the person knew or should have known of the delinquency.
And Ms.
So,
Ludwig,
I'm sure that doesn't apply.
What
but
was the first qualification again?
The very first
The
one?
very first.
Okay, to be eligible to serve on a board of directors, an individual must be a resident of the CAD and must have resided in the CAD for at least 2 years immediately preceding the date of taking office.
So if you make a nomination, of course, you want to ensure that the other qualification requirements are likewise met.
Right.
And only one person can answer that, right?
Yes.
Okay.
The trustee who is being nominated would have to
Right.
make that
All right.
determination.
So at this time,
So
do
we probably
wanna
need to
continue-
make a nomination because we won't really have time to make a nomination.
If we wish to make a
otherwise.
nomination, we can make a nomination and send it in and see what happens, or we can not make a nomination for this year. So it's up to
Okay,
you.
I want to make a nomination.
Okay.
And I don't know if he'll accept it, but I would like to nominate James Steenbergen.
That'll teach you to come to our meetings. Okay.
If I have a second
I
for that.
second that.
All right. There has been a nomination for the Fort Bend Central Appraisal District of James Steenbergen.
Maybe we should ask him.
He looks like he's all right with it.
He hasn't left.
Maybe we should ask him.
I have no idea how much time is involved with that, but
I don't think it takes that much time.
that's what they said about being on the school board.
What if you found out you couldn't? You could withdraw.
Yeah, you could. You could say,
You could say no.
Okay, we have to second, then we'll discuss. No.
Oh, I thought I made the second.
Oh, second, okay. So we do have a motion and a second. Is there any other discussion by people up here? No. All right, let's vote. All in favor, say aye. Any opposed? The motion carries. That'll teach.
Thank you, James.
May I make a comment?
Yes.
The number of votes this board carries, if you nominate somebody, you have enough votes to put that person in office. If between now and the time you vote on those nominations, I'm going to research this, and I will withdraw my name
Okay.
for the next meeting if I find out it's too much.
that's fine, because no one else has contacted us. Normally, someone will contact us if they're trying to rally votes for somebody else.
And we haven't heard a
Nothing has
word.
happened, so
All right,
Can we do two? Can we do two nominees?
I do not know.
then that may kind of
What if he
hard.
drops out?
think you could nominate as many as you
If
You
he
can.
drops out for some
Does that
reason?
split our vote?
Yeah.
Oh.
It does if he stays.
But we're not voting, and we're just nominating. So if
Oh,
nobody
we could do
Yeah,
that,
but-
and then if he drops out.
That's what I'm saying, yeah.
Oh, as a,
A
Like
backup?
Second,
Like
it's a backup?
okay.
Yeah.
Like a beauty pageant.
Second place.
If you're not willing to accept the grant.
First
And
runner-up,
the only reason we're doing this is because of the time constraint.
Well, and
gotta
again,
take
I've
it.
only remember one or twice that we've ever done this. Usually we just All right, so do we have another nomination?
And so, Madam Board President, the way
Yes.
I would entertain that motion is that somebody move to nominate an alternate in the event that
Okay.
Mr. Steenbergen is
All right.
unable or unwilling to accept the nomination.
Okay, so do we have a motion to nominate an alternate for this position?
I nominate John Welsh.
And I second that.
All right, any discussion?
Yes, Mr. Welch would like to have discussion on this. As long as me being nominated and/or winning does not nullify my position on this board for some legal entanglement,
Right,
I will accept the
Entanglement.
nomination and,
entanglement.
Lord willing, do both jobs. Or
That issue can be reached so that the information can be provided to you.
Okay.
Thank you, John.
That doesn't mean you can go say no now.
Right.
He's an alternate. All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, we now have an alternate to our nomination. Are we done?
That's it.
Thank you. Okay. I'm lost where we are now.
18.
It looks like we're down.
Page 81. I'm sorry.
Number 18?
Yes.
Okay. At this time, we have a discussion and possible action on a parent engagement committee. Do we have, before we start talking, did you have, Dr. Randall, were you going to give us a little update first? Thank you, Mr. Rock.
I certainly can. In your board book, you received a little bit of information around some parent engagement, family engagement activities, programs and committees that are currently in place in the district, just so everyone's aware of what's currently there. Just a quick overview would include some of our digital communications, such as Let's Talk. And so with Let's Talk, it is you can either be anonymous or you can leave your contact information. It's at the upper right-hand corner of every single web page in the district. You can click that, leave a comment, a concern, a suggestion, and that actually flows into cabinet-level administrators to then find answers and respond to individuals if they request a response. Obviously, we have several social media accounts where we share information and engage with the community as appropriate. We have a campus climate survey. We actually didn't have a campus climate survey for the first time last year, and that was paused in lieu of our strategic planning process, and we put all of our community engagement efforts into getting feedback for that. But prior to that, we've had a campus climate survey for the previous 4 school years. And it's actually what our campuses use for their campus improvement planning to start the year to get a lot of feedback. And in the campus improvement plan, it would survey every parent, every student, and every employee at the campus level. And so that will roll back out again district-wide after the Thanksgiving break, but before winter break begins. And so we'll get feedback there. The last 2 years, we've averaged over 18,000 total respondents for that survey. Also in your board book, we have some information about the Title I Parent Engagement Survey. That's either a standalone survey to get feedback on parent engagement activities at our Title I campuses, or it's rolled into that aforementioned Campus Climate Survey. We have 2 family engagement programs in the district, both Project Learn and pre-kindergarten and Title III parent outreach programs, which are under the academic wing. And then we have 7 advisory committees in Lamar CISD, which would include our attendance boundary committee, which we have every time that we do any type of rezoning where we get feedback from parents within the impacted zones. We also have our Career and Technical Education Advisory Council, which is put on by our CTE department and gets folks from the community, including business entities that give us feedback. The Citizens Bond Advisory Committee, which we have, it seems like on a 3-year schedule now, but we have typically 67 individuals, including board representation on that committee, or representatives selected by board members rather. Our district-wide Student Improvement Council we have every single year, which informs the district on district improvement planning, and they meet typically about 4 times per year. We have a gifted and talented Parent Advisory Committee, also under the academics wing, School Health Advisory Council, which Ms. Kaminsky referenced. There was a meeting this morning. And then also CPAC, which was also referenced, our Special Education Parent Advisory Council. And so those are just some of the things that we have in place to try to engage with the community or have feedback and work with parents, students, and community members. And so just a brief overview of kind of what we have in place. Yes, ma'am.
What is Canvas?
Canvas. So Canvas is our student management, one of those, it's our grade, and Katie is the Canvas.
It doesn't fall into this
No.
category? Okay.
No.
Canvas is our learning management system, so we house all of our district curriculum. Each teacher also has a course that he or she can interact with the students in for every class that they teach, and then they also have a outward-facing web page. So I believe Mr. Rockwood mentioned earlier that, or maybe Mr. Welch did with the technology committee, that teacher web pages have been moved into Canvas, so a parent can log in and see parent communication from the teacher directly. That's how they share their newsletters. They used to be sent home in print. Most of that's done electronically now, as well as contact information, schedules, assignments are posted in the calendar. So it's a digital platform where lots of two-way communication can take place between students, parents, and teachers.
So eventually it probably would go into this category because it does have parent.
It does. It's more of a one-way communication, and most of these offer an opportunity for two-way. So most of the information in Canvas is flowing out to parents, but there's not as much opportunity for them to respond or reply. Students can, but parents no.
Okay.
I would just say, Ms. Kay, as I use Canvas with my son, and so it's more like you can check homework assignments, they can upload assignments that they've done, so it's more of interactive like that. Does that make sense?
Well, I was just introduced to it from my grandson, and the question was, if you don't have internet, and if you don't have the money for the printer and the paper, I think there's miscommunication, but they were told that, this is elementary, that their homework would be on it, and it was the parents' responsibility to get the homework off the internet for these children, and I thought that was just way too young. But the parents, there's some that don't like that.
Sure. So there's an opportunity there for teachers to post homework assignments that have been given out in class so that there's a backup place to find it. You know, oftentimes elementary students, they leave it in their classroom or they tuck it in a folder, it gets lost in a backpack. But it should be the backup plan. It should not be the only.
Okay, I think that's where the misunderstanding.
Yes.
That's why parent involvement.
Yes.
That fit into it.
Yes.
Okay.
And then the other piece is if they are requiring assignments online, then they're opening up computer labs before or after school, or they're giving students an opportunity during the school day to log in to make sure that we're accommodating any student who doesn't have internet access at home. So there should be opportunities, again, before or after school, lunchtime, free time in between, where they can log in and get those
Well,
things.
I think, I was just more of parent involvement. And some of these committees that they have, and when we were going around to the different schools, you have parents come, but maybe one time at the very beginning, and then it just kind of fades away. So just like the committee I'm with now with Shaq, a lot showed up today, but in 2 or 3 months, it's going to be fewer and fewer that get involved. And with these programs, it's trying to get them, encouraging them to come in a different way.
I have a question. I get the sense that the administration doesn't think a parental is necessary. Is that fair to say?
Well, no, I think that the administration values parent engagement, family engagement, student engagement, and all we're trying to do with this specific item, since it was brought up by the board, is to make sure you're all aware of kind of the things that are in place to make sure that we may not be duplicating efforts.
Maybe that's what I'm trying to say, because I understand everybody understands parents are critical, key to educating children, and I know the district has done a great job and has all these programs, but I get that sense still. So, but that's a fair point. We don't want to duplicate something that's already in place and it's already working good.
Since you, I was going to say, since Ms. Williams, you began this process, do you want to kind of give an overview of what you were thinking about this? Okay.
So I appreciate all of these, definitely. And so kind of what we learned at the SLI conference from another district was more of going to a school, perhaps at each high school, but each track could, it would be one evening for the whole track. So say the maroon track, and you would have different, especially just learning as new board members, we've learned so many neat things that the district offers that we don't really ever have a chance to hear about, especially, and when you see it in person or you get to meet board members in person or different things, I think it's just a much different feel. And I understand some of the concern is people might not show up to these events. And so some ideas that were thrown out were maybe if somebody would donate a little bit of food, people will come. If you get a few prizes, people will come. If you have the cheerleaders welcoming people in, people will come. And so engage and even get feedback from the principals of each school and say, here's something we would like to highlight for parents. And so it's more of, like I work now across the street from Mercy Goods, and then we've got common threads. We have the clinics. I learned something neat at the Battle of the Berg the other night about the law enforcement program that one of the teachers offers, and so different things like that. And so just letting people be, I guess, vendors, if you will, just promoting some of the neat stuff that we offer, and just having a fun evening, and then whatever board members could be available, getting a chance to meet people, not in a very casual setting. Also maybe highlighting some of the stuff that's come out of the strategic planning. For example, in the maroon track, giving some feedback on when Randall High School will be built and what its progress, and about Trailer Stadium, just neat little tidbits, kind of like almost some of the stuff that we learned at Convocation, just a short little preview, and not so much like a Q&A, but just here's some neat things that we offer in the community that they may not have known, and that they can ask questions about, maybe at some different tables. And so just asking a few different people in the community, they're really positive about wanting to be a part of these. And so I don't know, starting maybe kind of small. I don't know how many we could get done in a year starting this late in the year, but maybe at least 2 or 3, and even coordinate them with something else that's going on in the evening, one evening. So that was kind of, at my daughter's school, one of the complaints was also that they didn't get a chance to meet their board members. And so, granted, their board meetings were closed, but one of the suggestions was, well, have a time when people can meet them in a very casual setting. And so I felt like that went over well. And so it's almost something like that. So not extra work for any administration. I'm willing to help facilitate that if I'm on the committee. I know, like I said, John and Alex have expressed interest as well. And so I don't know if that is enough information.
Yes. And you had something to say.
Well, a few things hit my mind was that, first of all, we have to be careful about, as a committee, going out, 3 and 4 of us, as to where we go in these communities. We can't go in there as representing the board as such.
Well, at an event?
If we go there as a group.
Well, if it's a board-generated activity, just like when it would be posted, just like when we did a bond, we went out and we did a bond presentation. Different board members showed up, but that was posted meeting.
Yeah, it would be.
It would be a posted meeting, so that any and all board members could show up. We would not be deliberating anything. It's just like going to convocation. We can all go there.
Or the new teacher dinner, any of those.
Yeah.
Right. I guess I'm trying to figure out if who's going to be responsible for it. How would you plan it? Because most of the staff try to come to these things, if it's anything sponsoring the school district, or to be available for questions, if, you know, some of the programs, how much time that would take away from them to have to come to this, or do, like you're talking about, doing tracks. Would a board member be the one that would be responsible for that track, going to the PTO or going to the principals and saying, we'd like to have this, is it like a town hall type thing?
Ish, but the committee would be responsible for organizing that.
To designate the time, the place?
Well, I think at this time, if we
Organization, I guess
see
is what I'm trying to.
that we need a committee, if we vote tonight to form a committee,
To make
I
those
think
decisions.
the committee would be the one to come up with the parameters of what you want to do, when you want to do it, how you want to do it, and set that up in a package that you could present back to the board when it's ready, and then let the board vote to say, yes, this looks great, and we can all be, because if it's board generated, no matter who's there, it's still the responsibility of the whole board. So if that's what we can see fit, that a committee to work out all the logistics. I always go back to my daughter's reporting who, what, when, where, why, how we're going to do it. And then I think it's a little more clear for us, and then we can come back. Does that sound?
I think that I was at the exact meeting today, and this is kind of exactly, they wanted to have committees, and it was all who's going to start it, where, time, and so they decided to have a group answer those questions, and then they're going to present back to them, so that everybody understood, and, you know, glitch it and clean it up a little bit and tweak it and everything. So that's
So,
kind of.
do we ever start committees in the district and just let them wither on the vine if not?
Well,
if they don't?
this would be what we would call kind of a special committee, because a few years ago, we formed a committee just for the audit. And that those people went out and they researched who, you know, how to do the audit, who would do the audit, how much the audit would cost, and got that information together, brought it back to the board, and we voted, and then we had the audit. We don't have the audit committee anymore because we completed that project. But, so this might be a short-term committee, could turn into a long-term committee. It's something, as we work through it, we can see and tweak. I mean, I think this is what we call a special committee.
And my understanding is if it's approved, it would be different than the Facilities and Technology
Correct.
Committee, because those are advisory committee, whereas this committee would have specific authority from the board to transact business and then bring it back to the board at the next scheduled meeting.
And we did that also when we wanted to go over the policy.
Yeah.
Oh, what? Go ahead, I'm sorry.
You have to be careful about that for Open Meetings Act purposes.
Right.
So really, the committee would have, it'd be an ad hoc committee or special purpose committee that could engage in work for the purpose of bringing recommendations to the board like any other committee. The only difference is, compared to the committees that you referenced, is those are standing committees of the board. So this would be a special purpose committee.
Right.
The problem you get is if the board delegates authority to a committee and then the board takes actions on behalf of the board, then you run the risk of violating the Open Meetings Act,
Right.
even if you have members that are less than a quorum serving on the committee.
So if we did have that type of committee, I mean, the only thing we'd need to do is we'd need to post the meeting.
No.
Well, post a meeting, but still, I think the board would have to make a determination of whether it would be willing to delegate authority to the committee, even if there's a quorum serving on the committee, for actions that would normally be taken by the board.
Well, like you're saying, we would just bring it back to the board and then.
All you're doing is the research of how it would be
And then we
done.
would present it to the board.
And
So there
present-
wouldn't be any more than 3 people on the committee.
No,
like
you
the
cannot have
other
more than 3
committees.
people on the
So
committee.
you wouldn't be, yeah. So
And,
we would fund it.
I mean, again, as a few years ago, we wanted to go through all the policies. We formed a special policy committee. We met on our time, but then we came back and brought back to the board what our suggestions were. We did recommendations. And then we had to put that up as an action item and have it voted on. So this committee is really doing is setting the parameters of what the parental engagement activity would be. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Does that meet everybody's?
I think I understand.
Okay. The main thing is we just have to make sure, like Ms. Moore said, that you don't do any deliberating or you don't make any decisions.
Deliberate. I
Well,
They're free to deliberate.
Deliberate, but not-
They cannot make decisions on
Decisions.
behalf of the board. They can only make recommendations to the board about a recommended parental engagement activity.
okay. And so at this time, I would need a motion to have us form, is it just a parental engagement committee or ad hoc
To form a parental engagement committee
of the board in the purpose to create a perimeter of what these type of guidelines of what these meetings or would be for us to, as a board, bring to the community. Does that make sense?
I'll make that
The purpose and a goal.
Yes.
Well, can I make a suggestion along
Yes.
those lines? To have the committee optimally function, it might be appropriate to simply create the committee.
Okay.
Then it would be the prerogative of the board president to select trustees to serve on that committee.
Okay.
And then it might be recommended that the committee, its initial work is to bring back to the board essentially the functions, the anticipated functions of the committee.
Okay.
Along the parameters of what we discussed, that the committee will be bringing recommendations. But at this point in time, probably all you really need to do is have the board create the board.
Okay, so let's just say at this time, do I have a motion to create a parent engagement committee?
I'll make the motion.
You'll make the motion. Do I have a second? You'll make a second. Any other discussion now that we, okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? So now we have the parent engagement committee. At this time, I really think we need a little bit of both some new and some previous board members to be on, not just so that we have some people that have worked with the district, so within the board. So I know, Ms. Williams, you have brought this to the attention, so I wondered if you would want to be the chair of this board, of this committee?
Yes.
Okay. And at this time?
I think Alex and Mandy would be.
Okay,
They're
Alex.
on the board.
Mr. Hunt? Okay,
Sure.
so these three will be our committee, and when you are ready to report to the board, if you're ready by the October meeting, how early do they need to tell me, Dr. Randall, so we can get it on the agenda?
I suspect that there's enough energy in
This,
doing
it won't be a problem. Well, we do have so much coming up in October, but yeah.
I would
So when you're,
suspect they
when
should
you're ready,
probably-
let me know,
Should be
we'll put
ready
it on
to-
the
Okay.
agenda.
I do have one question on that. So whenever we discuss, so we can discuss freely amongst the three of us, we don't have to have a special meeting time, place.
No.
Are we able to engage anybody, any of the principals or anybody, and ask them their interest in this?
Yeah, we can freely speak to people in the
Like, not set
district
anything
about
up and
it.
just say, would you be interested in hosting this at your campus or something, you know what I mean? And it can be,
We can have discussion with
Or
them.
I
wait
think
a month
before
to
I
do
would
that.
do that, I would come up again with what your parameters of what you want to do. So if you did meet with a principal, you'd say, this is what we're thinking. So be very clear about what you wanted
okay,
to
so
do.
don't
And I
speak
think-
to anybody.
I actually think that if the board decides to do this, and you decide to do it by track, I doubt that you're going to have a principal that's not going to be interested in
That's gonna say
hosting
no, yeah.
you. So I would suggest establishing what this is going to look like, so that everybody kind of has a feel for what it's going to look like. And then certainly any additional feedback, the staff would be more than willing to provide
But
that. So.
I do think that it'd be better for you to bring it back to the board for board approval, maybe before you go get everybody excited to make sure that we have approval of everyone. Okay, does that sound okay?
Sure.
All right. Did I follow all?
Yeah, I think that's appropriate, and I think to the extent that the board then determines that there's a particular activity and there is a desire to engage campus principals, that to be in keeping with your governance structure, that needs to go through the superintendent's office.
Okay. Okay, is that, all right. We'll be looking forward to what y'all come up. Thank you very much for volunteering to do that.
And Mr. Welch, just to make sure that you don't feel like that these committees wither, the Operation Audit Committee was on steroids. So just letting you know.
Sitting in there. All right, let's move on. I believe we have one more pulled item. Was it C1, the consider of approval of mail security? Is that what you?
That's correct. That's the next item.
All right, do I hear a motion to approve the 3-year purchase of Proofpoint Advanced Email Security from Solid Border in the amount of $352,485, which will be paid $117,550 annually? Do I hear a motion? We have a motion. Do I have a second?
Sure.
Okay. All right. Ms. Kaminsky, you have a question?
Yeah, I forgot.
You're the one that pulled it.
Yeah, I pulled. Now, I'm trying to understand all of this because we've been getting all these notices that this system is out, this system is gone. Is this somebody new that you're working with?
No, we purchased Proofpoint email filtering a year ago with a 1-year license.
Okay.
So we've been using them for a year now, and it's made a huge impact on the district.
Are you talking about when we get notices that certain schools' phones are down, and is that what you're talking about?
Yeah.
But I don't
No,
think that
no, this has
anything
nothing to do with that. This is filtering our email to protect our system and our users from anything from identity theft or viruses or things like that.
Like we had a couple of years ago when we all had to change our passwords and stuff?
Many people did. And so a year ago, the board approved the 1-year purchase last October. But it was a 1-year only. No, it's the same system, but we only asked for a 1-year approval because it was brand new. We wanted to make sure it worked. It was untested for us. And it's been well tested, it's excellent, and we want to lock in pricing for 3 years, which is why we're asking for a 3-year approval this time.
So
Yes,
for
ma'am.
example, in the spam folder, it has all, we can go in there and, have a couple different options in our email. That's the proof point.
You're talking about the quarantine email you get?
Yes.
Yes.
So that's
yes.
what, I don't know if you've seen those, but I've got.
They come out and say
yeah.
And
like
what
you
that
can-
means is that, I'm
Yeah.
sorry, did I interrupt you?
I just didn't know if you've seen in your spam folder. I saw that recently, and it allows you to like unblock the sender,
Right.
do a couple things.
Yeah, those emails let you know that this might or might not be suspicious. It's usually bulk mail that has already been passed through as it's probably okay, but you have the opportunity to say, I don't really want that, and you're under no obligation, nor any staff member or anybody has to check that.
Yeah.
If you're finding things that you really don't want, that's when you might want to check that.
Okay, all right, thank you.
All right, you understand everything clear?
Sure, I was clear as mud.
All right, let's vote. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries. All right, I think, Dr. Randall, we're finished with action items.
And we do have a special ed update,
Okay,
number 2.
number 2. She's been busy.
Good evening. Hello. All right, so I'm just going to give part 2 basically of the special ed update. I'm going to start off with just some follow-ups to the last update that I gave, just to kind of answer a couple of questions that we had. One update is our numbers. We are at 4,263 students in special education as of last Thursday. We also have 2,565 students who are protected under Section 504 only. One clarification that I wanted to give, because Ms. Kaminsky did ask about the difference in the numbers, is that every student who is a part of special education is protected by Section 504. So when you look at the masses, there are about 6,800 students who are protected through Section 504. One other thing I wanted to address was the budget. We talked a lot about the FTEs, or the teaching units for special education. We're around 450, we're over 450 now. And one thing I wanted to point out, because we get a lot of questions about, the funding and how much money is spent on special education. And so in the last 5 years, you can see we have gone from about 20 million on special education to 30 million on special education, which is about 10 million over a 5-year span. And our projected budget for this school year is actually another 10 million. So we're over $40 million spent on special education programming. There was a question also about teacher retention. And so we have been working on that. We ran into a couple of bumps with that just because of the way the contracts run. And so with the pay periods and different things like that, we couldn't give you final numbers on teacher retention. But what we did find so far is that we are a little bit lower than we would normally be right now. But we will be able to get you some more updated information on that. Ms. Kaminsky also asked about our 3-year-olds in transportation, and so I did want to give a little bit more information about that, because one of the requirements of special education is we must offer related services, and one of the related services is special transportation. And so when we are in our ARD meetings and we're talking about what students need transportation, we cannot exclude 3-year-olds, because that is just one of the things we have to offer to ensure that the students receive a free, appropriate public education.
Okay, this is for special ed.
Special education, right.
Students being transported.
Right.
Not children. Okay.
Pegasus, I got you.
Yeah.
Yes. All right, and so ultimately we were asked about the operational audit, but before I do that, you receive a flash drive with some requested items, and one of the items was the feeder patterns for our programming. I did include the RTI manual and the inclusion manual, as well as a copy of the PowerPoint, and then the administrative procedure manual, okay? So the first audit item is to develop and implement procedures that will reinforce appropriate and effective implementation and documentation of response to intervention on each campus, train teachers and staff in the process, monitor implementation, and track the rate of inappropriate referrals to special education, which is why you have the RTI manual, so you can kind of see where we are. In the past year and a half, what we've done is we have purchased a RTI docking station where we keep all of our documents, basically. We also use the same system for special education and Section 504, so it was an easy transition for our employees to use the RTI tab of this software as well. We also approved and hired an RTI coordinator. We will be implementing a universal screener this school year 3 times a year. We will do it at the beginning of the year, middle of year, and end of year to track student progress. Secondary does have the option to use the universal screener, but RTI at secondary can be a little bit more difficult because they are in courses rather than us being able to divvy up time according to the needs of students. Again, the RTI manual was finalized in August of this year, and then we have completed professional development in the professional learning communities, as well as we're currently doing instructional rounds and teacher training on the district procedures, which will be done through the RTI campus coordinators. In addition to that, we've also done training on the Success Ed software so that they understand how to utilize the system. The audit items are not in order only because of what they are addressing. So 3.7 is addressing basically RTI again. So it is monitor the performance of special education students on an ongoing basis to identify potential for academic failure during a grading period and use interventions and instructional strategies to address it, thereby eliminating the failure R. So again, we developed the RTI process, and within the RTI process, you identify struggling learners or striving learners to meet grade level standards. It also requires us to identify students who require interventions. We have a very intentional focus this year on Tier 1 instruction, which ensures that every student actually receives the type of instruction that they need at their level based on their deficits or strengths. In addition to that, special education coordinators do monitor students' progress, and that includes IEP goals and objectives as well as report card grades. And so they meet with campus administrators to ensure everyone is aware if a student is struggling learning. 3.2 addresses disproportionality, and it is to implement procedures that address effectively academic and behavior issues of African American and Hispanic students to avoid over-identification of these student groups for referral to special education. This one, we've created a focus group, and they are reviewing the positive behavior interventions and strategies across the district. The group consists of our lead LSSP, behavior analyst, counselors, lead diagnostician, the RTI coordinator, and the instructional facilitator. The group is investigating underlying factors such as socioeconomic factors, trauma impact of students, CPS placed students in district zone residential facilities, as well as generational differences between teachers and students, and then our district initiatives of capturing kids' hearts, restorative practices, and character counts. Professional development has been recommended from this focus group. We haven't approved it just yet because they're still doing some research on what would be the best way to implement the professional development, but I just wanted to give you some idea of what types of trainings we would be looking at. One would be diversity training and the impact of generational differences, trauma training and how behaviors manifest in the educational setting, and then characteristics of disability conditions. Sorry. 3.8 is to identify and implement behavior management strategies that have been proven effective in reducing the need for disciplinary actions for all students and for special education students as well. So again, we have a lot of different behavior initiatives depending on the campus that you're at. And so again, capturing kids' hearts, they have positive behavior interventions and supports, restorative discipline, character counts, and Ms. Roberts just introduced us to the whole child solution focused. Our inclusion program were recommendations 3.3 and 3.4. It is to develop an inclusion blueprint that incorporates best practices, defines expectations, and provides planning and implementation guidelines, and specifies resources to enhance consistency and effectiveness. 3.4 is to establish guidelines capping the number of special education students in regular education inclusion classes based on the type of class or course, type and intensity of student needs, and regular education teacher experience. So what we've done is, in August of 2018, we developed an inclusion manual that had best practices for implementation of an inclusive environment. The co-teach model, basically the best practices of 1/3 of the class, while with in-class support, it could be 1/4 of the class. Again, these are best practices. There's no legal guidance on capping numbers, and it's one of the things that becomes difficult Because if you're a new teacher, you can only have so many kids, well, that would limit us in where we could place our students. What we would rather do is ensure that we provide professional development so our teachers are prepared to implement the inclusion program, which we will have inclusion training in October, working with an outside agency. So other pitfalls are our district growth. Again, we can't predict which students move into the district or which students will qualify. And so we work as diligently as we can to ensure that we don't have an overload in any one class, but that can become difficult throughout a school year. Again, we talked about the increased number of special education students. Teacher shortage is a huge deal for the state of Texas right now, and as well as special education teacher turnover. And part of the teacher turnover has to do with teachers they can pick wherever they want to go because we have a shortage. And so we talked a little bit about this last night. Sometimes people will say the grass is greener, and that's not necessarily the case. So we continue to work with our teachers, the support that we're providing to try and encourage them to stay put. 3.5, 3.6, and 3.9 development. 3.5 is to establish special education professional development requirements for regular education teachers who have students with disabilities in their classes. 3.6 is to increase the focus of the special education staff development program on content, instructional strategies, and interventions. And 3.9 is to develop a special education teacher support program for first-year teachers with a longer-term and coherent professional development program focused on special education instructional settings. So what we've done over the last school years, we've provided 59 hours of training that was geared for general ed teachers in that inclusion setting as well. In addition to that, we are working on development of required web-based trainings. They talked about Canvas and other entities to use so that we don't always have to have face-to-face trainings, but we give teachers an opportunity to still receive information that can help them with their instructional practices. In addition to that, we've provided 114 hours of professional development focused on content, instructional strategies, and interventions. In addition to that, we have identified our first-year teachers to education, identified first-year teachers within our special education program. Maybe they're new to a program. Maybe they were a general ed teacher last year, and so this year they're in a self-contained environment. With those teachers, we have scheduled program-specific teacher meetings 6 times per year. Our special education instructional facilitators also meet with the teachers one-on-one during their conference period. Sometimes they come before school or after school. It's just dependent upon what's most convenient for the teacher. And then in addition to that, they're working with them on assisting with the development of IEP goals and objectives, instructional strategies, behavior management, and room setup, because those are the hot items that could have a teacher down in the dumps if they don't know how to do those things. And that's all I have on the operational audit. Are there any questions? Ms. Kate.
You got it, girl. It just came into my mind when you were talking about establishing special education professional development. Special education develops professional development for regular education teachers. When the teacher just walks in fresh, but does not have the special ed at all, are they still required to have inclusive classrooms?
That is actually up to the campus administrator in terms of how they place students in terms of classrooms. But because of the growth and size of our district, most teachers have contact with a student who receives special education support at some time.
So most teachers.
Absolutely. I can't see that they wouldn't.
Yes.
Yes.
When I walk in, I'm not just a general ed teacher.
Right.
So with those, do you make special training for them? Do they understand they will get special training for a particular child that comes in, and they have no idea what to do with this child.
In many cases, what we do is we rely on campus administrators to let us know when a general ed teacher needs support, because we do offer the trainings. But if you're new to the district, you may not know the process to look up specific trainings. So principals will contact us if they feel that a teacher needs additional support in order to be successful.
So you do rely on the principals and that to
Yes, ma'am.
come to you and say, hey, I need this. Okay.
Absolutely.
Is this the type of students that would normally have been pulled are now being inclusion in the classroom? Do they come with other aides or something if they've got severe, or is this just children of any general ed? I mean, when you're talking of support.
I think what you're saying, number one, we have students that are just in the general education
Correct.
setting. Not all students require significant levels of support. If they're hired to actually be in a self-contained classroom where they have more significant medical issues or behavior concerns, then they're trained prior to going into that classroom. So there is more training for that teacher than the teacher who is in a more inclusive environment.
But we are trying to move more of those kids into a regular school setting if they can be.
If they can, absolutely.
What concerns me, I hear from other teachers, not just from our district, okay,
Right.
it's from other ones, the general ed teachers, when they don't get all that training, they're not prepared, and they may have one that has a behavioral issue that they weren't aware of, and they're wanting to leave, because it's like, this isn't what I bought into.
Right.
So that's what I'm concerned, is how well are they, do they attend the art meetings? Are they able to understand this child a little bit better, so it's easier? It'll never be easy.
Right.
But we're losing a lot of the special ed.
In most situations that you just described, we have behavior analysts, we have special education counselors, we have licensed specialists in school psychology. During the first, I would say, 3 to 4 weeks of school, they're going out to campuses because we get the calls. And so as soon as we get a call, we have people that go out to the campus. They're there to support the teacher. And if a recommendation or a referral has to occur, then that will happen as well. To special education. But ultimately, we are in very close contact with administrators during that first, the start of school, just to ensure that we can support them.
Thank you for your work.
You're welcome.
I had a question on 3.1. I'm sorry if you explained this, but one of the points you have here is implementation of universal screener 3 times per year at the elementary level. Can you explain what that is?
A universal screener is basically a screener looks at different components of reading, different components of math. And every student at the elementary level will go through this screening process. And once the screening process is completed, each campus will have a mean of where students scored per grade level. And from there, the students will be determined if they're okay, they're on grade level, they're above grade level, and if they fall below the mean, they will look at how far are they, based on the mean of the campus, below. And then they will place those students in tiered interventions if necessary.
And so those universal screeners are facilitated by the regular education teacher? Okay.
It's a campus effort, though, because, again, at elementary, every student is getting screened. So almost every staff member is involved in the screening process.
One of the other points in the operational audit on this point was that there were a high number of does not qualifies. And I don't know if that was happened before or after the Houston Chronicle, the CAP thing, but have you noticed that with the more refined process that we have, has the number of does not qualifies gone down?
We will find that out this year. The part of the goal of the response to intervention framework is to decrease the number of referrals so that you are intervening before a student actually needs to be referred to special education.
Okay. So on 3.2, which was on disproportionality, do you have any updated numbers? Because the most updated numbers that I think we have are from 16, 17, so it's about 2 years old now. Do you have any updated numbers just to see if the positive behavior interventions that are being implemented are working for special education students?
I don't have them right now, but I can definitely work with Brian Moore to get the numbers for you, definitely.
Okay. I think I just had one more question. So my last question was, I think it was on the support, oh no, it was, so there was, I forget which point it was, but there was an operational audit recommendation that had to do with, there were a large number of failure ARDs that were happening, and so the recommendation was to monitor the student progress. And you mentioned that the coordinators are meeting. Are the coordinators, are those school-based, or are those the coordinators that are by the track?
Right, by the track, the district compliance coordinators.
So we have two that we don't have right now, right? Purple Track doesn't have one, and then one other, I believe, is out. Are those, and so how many are there currently?
5.
Are those 5 individuals?
Wait a minute, 5 total. Right now, we have 3 that are present.
So my concern on that is that we have 3 individuals that it sounds like are monitoring the progress of the students that are in the district, but I'm sure that isn't right. So I just wanted to see if you could clarify all of the other people that in the plan are working to monitor students' progress.
Do you want me to add to that?
If you'd like.
I would just want to clarify, because one of the things when we began to implement this and working with Tiffany on this is that at every principal meeting, the staff members, principals will be getting their data in regard to special ed and performance real time as we begin to fine tune our RTI practices. And so that will happen every month as well.
Okay. Thank you. That's all I got.
You okay? One more.
TEA, they're monitoring all of this, correct?
Monitoring what?
The progress we're doing, or the program. Initially, last year, you were talking about it was statewide, TEA with dyslexia being in the wrong category. I'm trying to put my words.
Okay.
But after, y'all are doing such a good job trying to get to these points. Are we going to have an audit or an inspector or somebody just walk in to see? Are y'all expecting that?
Well, we are, TEA has set up a 6-year cycle for audits, and we have not been notified when we would be audited. As of today, Ms. Kaminsky, I hope it's not tomorrow.
Tomorrow's another day. But your ducks are in a row.
We are trying, yes, ma'am.
But I think you're on the right track. The only thing that I am concerned, and I know it's difficult, is getting those 2, you're short 2 people right now. You mentioned that last night, so good luck.
And we work as a team. We meet as a team. I am involved with assistant campuses as well as our director, Keontae Jackson. So they're not alone, and our facilitators help support as well. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, at this time, are there any other, do we want to go by information, or do you see if anyone has?
There are no additional reports, but I would ask if the board has any questions about any of the information items that are remaining, we could respond to them.
On 140 about the restroom, what was that?
Oh, so that's what
Are we having an increase in reports of the students? And I'm not going to word it correctly with the vaping. The news media is bringing it up that it's getting to be more and more major, and children are going to the hospitals with. Have we experienced any of that yet? Is that something?
Well, we're definitely not immune to what is happening outside in the Texas and the United States. And so of all of the teenagers, we are always seeing kind of the reflex of that. And so, of course, kids have more access to tobacco-based vaping pens. And so we are seeing that at campuses, but the campuses are automatically, because we get sometimes the sky alerts also, because kids tell on themselves also, by the way, to where we have processes in place at the campus that if those are happening, we try to take immediate action and in regard to, from the discipline standpoint and parent communication, et cetera.
I don't know that we have any actual data right now to be able to say that we had X number of students that we caught with vaping.
Well, I don't think we should even really know that, so we don't just let the public or the students know. At this meeting yesterday, they were talking about the dads on campus. Do we have, is this at all the campuses, or is this something that, where the dads literally walk through the hallways and go to the restrooms and knock on the doors?
Dad's on duty.
Is that just
We
on
have
schools?
our
No.
two assistant superintendents that are going to be able to brief you, especially about this one.
Yes, we do have some of our schools. I did actually see on the maroon track at Reading and Polyrine that on the first day of school, we had a group of dads that came to volunteer, and dads on duty came to volunteer. So we do have some dad volunteers at some of our secondary schools.
Was that just at the beginning of the year, or are they attending?
I actually did see some yesterday when they had the open house also at Reading.
And then in elementary, they have both dads on duty and then the watchdogs. And so those are both, the Watchdogs is a program through PTA, and although other campuses have it also if they don't have a PTA, and those are ongoing. So dads can sign up for a full day with Watchdogs throughout the school year. Some elementary campuses pick either 1 or 2 days. Fridays is a popular day. I think a lot of dads have some flexibility in their schedule. They can wear a Watchdog shirt, and they're visible. So the teachers know that if they have a child that's dad is going to be there that day, they usually help with drop-off. They're visible in the cafeteria. They might go outside to recess. You'll see them in the classroom reading to the kids. And it's the same philosophy as the dads on duty, is just to have more male figures on the campus. And those are usually sponsored by someone on the campus. I know on my former campus, my assistant principal and counselor helped along with the PTA, provided that program.
How did you get it started?
Yes. The Watchdogs, I know it's a national program, but the PTA at my previous campus, and I think a lot of the parent groups are the ones that helped to get that organized.
Didn't you do
I
that?
was going to say, for the maroon track, they even have their own Facebook page, the Dads on Duty Facebook page, and the gentleman, his name, I won't say his name, I don't know if it's legal or whatever, but anyways, so he'll say, we'd like dads to be here Friday morning between 7:15, 8:15, and some of them, he says, I'd like us to stand in front of the bathrooms. I'd like us to be out in the carpool line. So he really tries to keep that. I think it's definitely, and it's through the whole maroon track, well, the 6 through 12 especially, that he's trying to
And that's the
be
kind
out
of thing,
there.
I think, for committees, to find out how did they do this, because I've heard some of them say the kids, especially at the high schools, are really making comments about, you're here again, type thing. It seems
They
to
are
be
very
working.
present.
Yes, okay. Congratulations, thank you.
Didn't you do it at your daughter's school?
I did it last week. Yeah.
Yay.
Yeah, it was a good experience.
Okay. Thank you. Is there anything else at this time? Well, if not, I think we're going to go to closed session. Government Code Sections 551.071, 551.072, 551.074, and 551.082. They're taking these out, and the time is 9:13. 9:23, and we are back in session. Are there any motions to be made?
Madam Chairman, I move that the Board of Trustees approve personnel as presented.
Is there a second? Yes. A second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. All right, are there any future agenda items for October? Good? All right, upcoming meetings and events. Well, some of us will be hitting the road for Dallas for the Lamar CISD convention, and we will miss those that can't join us. Maybe it'll get closer next year. Get more of us there. Coming up, I know that we have the State of the Schools address Wednesday, October the 2nd, 11:30 out at Safari. Is that correct? And then I think we got the invitation last week for Roberts Middle School dedication at 9 o'clock on Thursday, October the 3rd. And, and then if you want to come out, the golf tournament for Leaf is going to be at Weston Lakes, and there'll be more information coming out on October 14th. And that is usually sponsored by Rice and Gardner. It's a lot of fun. So, and then of course our next board meeting is the week of the 15th and 17th. Is there anything else that I missed? All right, it is 9:25 and meeting's adjourned.